I have a question for you. Are you an architect and are you broke? If the answer is yes, it's what I've suspected for many years, as I am indeed an architect myself. This podcast is about debt in the profession of architecture, and I want to hear from you. Are you just surviving month to month with no extra money for savings? Or are you seriously broke and in debt and stress and worry about your income? Or does your wife, husband or significant other earn substantially more than you, which gives you a great life, given the ability to choose your clients, when you work and who for? Or have you attained financial freedom in architecture? If you're in the first two categories, surviving month to month or facing financial difficulties, how is this affecting your mental health? Are you suffering from depression or even despair? We need to talk about the impact of debt, but also, more importantly, how to get out of debt. And I need you to come forward to make this podcast possible. Welcome to The Broke Architect. You will hear from real architects with very real problems, and maybe some will offer some real solutions so that you never become a broke architect. Please share, subscribe and comment to support the channel. I have with me Agnes, who is an architect based in Leeds in the UK, and I just want to say firstly welcome to the first season of The Broke Architect. I just wondered if you could please introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about your background, where you're from and originally, and also maybe why you wanted to study architecture.
Hello everyone, my name is Agnes and I am an architect. I just qualified a month ago after 11 years of training, so I'm quite happy about it. I'm Polish, so I come from Poland, where I used to study architecture in my hometown, which is called Białystok, which is to the northeast of Poland. Okay. I always wanted to be an architect from like very young age, because like my kind of first like childhood friend, she was like daughter of artist. So we kind of like spent all my childhood like drawing and doing like all the like manual things. So yeah, I thought, okay, I need to like do something about my kind of artistic passion, and I was actually pursuing to be an artist, like a painter or something like that. So that's quite interesting. But then I was talking to my parents about it, like, oh, I want to go to like art school, and they were like, oh no, don't go there because there's no money in there. Just try to find something which is quite artistic but can bring you some money as well. So they kind of tried to steer me to architecture, which I then try to explore. And I thought, oh, it's brilliant, it's great, it's really interesting. So yeah, just let's do it and let's become an architect. And here I am.
And that's interesting what you said there about your parents were, moving you away from being an artist and into architecture because it has some money. That's really interesting. So, the follow on for me after what you said there would be, did you think that architects, were paid good salaries and made high fees? And if so, I guess you've answered the question. Maybe your parents gave you that advice.
So I think that there was an impression because of architect being like a success person. Like I think we all are like very often compared to being a doctor or a lawyer, because it's like very highly skilled profession. And they were also like, I think architects are portrayed of being like a very successful and very wealthy, like in movies and like. Yeah. That's how I think like general public thinks that we are like very successful people, and because it takes also like years to be qualified. So I think that's kind of like it's what everybody else is thinking, which like reality might not necessarily be that beautiful, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely true. And then you got through your studies and education, your 7 years, If it was 7 years, that's kind of the minimum. I was just wondering, did you struggle to find employment when you finished university?
So during my kind of studies, I was trying to I found like little part-time, like little work in my hometown, which didn't like bring too much to me. So I started to look around, and I really was looking like, okay, so I want to like get like very good job because I was like really good student. So let's try to find so I did send CV to like best practices in Poland. So I ended up like landing 2 internships in very good practices, like were recognized, etc.
Yeah.
However, it was like they were like unpaid internships, so I spent around 6 months just like working for free for those practices,
This
just
was
to
in
gain some
Poland.
experience, which is quite common practice, I think, all around the world, when getting like students in to work for free.
Sorry, were unpaid internships in Poland?
Yes, they
Yes.
were.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you so you struggle. So you got your experience in order for you to qualify as an architect. And so tell me about your next step after that. Because you did struggle to find something after you had finished
Yeah.
your studies, and tell me what you did next, because this is really interesting and brave.
So I was trying to get like normal job, which was really difficult at the time. So I thought, okay, because I was in these nice practices, they were like led by very young people. So I got an impression, okay, so it is like they are successful, they're running their own practices. So why can't I try to do the same and set up my own practice? Because it looks quite brilliant to run like nice projects. So that's what I did. I decided to set up my own architectural practice, and I was quite lucky at the time, because when I was thinking about it, I had like 2 friends who needed like some projects done. So I kind of landed 2 projects straight away when I opened that, and I thought it's brilliant, it's easy, you just do it, you just do the project, and you run a business, and you'll be such a successful architect, and it wasn't that easy, unfortunately. Again.
Yeah.
Because after those 2 projects ended, the reality hit me, because then you realize that you need to find people who are willing to pay for the project, and you need to pitch to them, and you need to like kind of set a fee which is appropriate, and I couldn't calculate the fee at the time. So, and I was like also very passionate about my business, so I started to accept very low fees, or even like work for free for some people, whilst at the same time I thought that I needed to like sustain this like impression of being a successful architect, which is like I thought, okay, I need like the newest phone, so I bought a phone, and then I thought I need like great websites, so I paid a lot of money to set up like very nice looking website, and also I was like, okay, I was at the time living in my hometown, which is like a small town, and I was like, okay, I need to be successful, so I need to get to the Warsaw, which is like the capital town of Poland. So I set up a like virtual office there, so you can like buy an address, which is like in a very Warsaw city center, and I was also paying a fee to people like for this virtual address. So all of these things from the external were looking great, but actually on the other side, I was like, not. I was struggling. I was struggling with projects, with people, and so that's kind of like, I think many people might be thinking you are so successful when you're not, because at the same time, one of my parents lost their job, and so that made me like, because I was living with them, so that made me move to live with my husband at the time. So I was like successful architect from Warsaw, and whilst at the same time I was living with my like husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, in his parents' house.
Wow. Can I just take it back a little bit? Is it, just going back to the education side, and you coming out of your education and going straight into business with 2 clients. Did you feel that your training in university prepared you for running a business? Were you taught about fees, running a business, running a practice?
No, because in Poland they just focus on your like technical abilities instead of focusing on actual business side of it. So I didn't know anything. Even like I thought I was charging the client because I was like it was not no VAT. So I thought, oh, so I can add VAT and just charge more. So I thought that's how it works. Well, so like at the end I figure out, okay, because you're not paying like VAT, then you just add it to the fee, but the fee is the same. So those like very basic things of running a business, I didn't know anything about it. And I think that's what I started to realize like after a while that I really was like lacking there. I needed like to maybe rethink and try to expand my knowledge in this field as well.
Because there's a thing about Poland, where you have to pay your taxes every month, even if you're not making
Yeah.
a profit, which is that's tough.
Yeah, so it's like it was like £200, but like for me in Poland it's like 1,000 zlotys every month, which was like a lot of money. It's like equivalent to, if you think £1,000 a month, you need to like figure out how to get there. When at the same time you have to like survive and make a living of it as well. So my boyfriend was supporting me at the time, so it was like another step because I couldn't like find ways to pay those fees. So he was trying to he was giving me money to pay those fees every month, which was like kind of like even worse for me.
And just touching on that, because you've got, you were lucky enough to have that financial help from your partner, but what impact did that have on your relationships? What stress did it have?
I think it was quite tough times then, because we didn't have our own place, and we needed to rely on whatever his parents wanted us to do. And he was also like working. He was like a truck driver, so everybody say, "Oh, you're an architect," and he's a truck driver. So, "Oh, Lucas, you need to up your game to be equal." When like the reality, his work was kind of more profitable than mine. But at some point it was because he was helping me so much, he got into debt as well. So because he's a very clever guy, and I wish I listened to him at that time. So he decided, okay, I need to move abroad just to like break even and pay these debts. So he decided to go for like 6 months to England. I will go for 6 months, and I will help you, and you will try to figure out this business thing.
Oh wow! So he moved to, I'm guessing, the UK, and then you decided to make that move. And if did you, at that time when you left Poland to come to the UK, were you carrying a lot of debt, or was it minimal debt?
So I was quite lucky, I think, because of that. Because just before I decided the business needs to like be closed, I had like one of my uncles needed some help on because he's like a furniture maker, so he needed like to help on one of the bigger projects, which was just enough money to cover all my overdraft in a bank,
Right.
which was like kind of like, and that made me just break even. And I thought that's the moment. I don't want to come back to any debt. I know I'm not making much money. That was just about the amount I needed. So I just need to close that. And so that was quite lucky for me. Just I could just close it without debt and just start over. So that's why I had discussions with my husband to move to UK and try to make some money there, maybe get some experience, which I was obviously lacking, get some like very basic knowledge of business, architecture in general, and things like that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just before we leave that and talk about your new life and how you've really recovered from, I guess, owning your own business, is was that stress? How did you sort of deal with that? Because some people have been known to turn to alcohol, in some really bad cases, drugs, or some people can manage it in other ways by doing exercise. How did you sort of cope with that? Because it is stressful running a business and also managing debt. If you just think back to
I
that
think
time.
I think myself, I'm taking quite like internally. So I think I was crying quite a lot. So that was one of the elements. I didn't do like and maybe like the aspect of me showing to the external world like the success. So maybe those were like material things that I had and this website. I was focusing on this, sustaining this image, I think, so hard. That maybe that was kind of my escape from actual reality of being. Also the family and my husband, they were like very, very supportive. And
I think you've made a really good point there, because I think we see a lot of this now with Instagram and everyone showing off their perfect life, or what seems to be on the surface a perfect life, and we never really know what's going on behind those glossy images of success. So it's really interesting that you said that. And you relocated to the UK, to Leeds, as we've said. And I just wondered, how easy was it to first find employment when you came?
So I moved there in 2016, I think, and I was trying to find a job here, and I didn't like have any knowledge about the market in UK, especially in architecture. So I was trying to find any placement, but without any like prior experience in the UK, it was quite difficult. So I was looking for like about 2 months, and then I thought I need to rethink how can I get into the industry. Maybe there is any other way. So I was trying to think maybe there is some other fields around architecture that I can find a job in. And I was quite lucky because I found, eventually after 3 months, I found a job being a 3D visualizer in one of the design and build companies here in Leeds. So I got the placement there and I started to do these visuals, but after like 6 months, I started to push like, I have like this architectural background. You have some architects in your company as well. So maybe you need some help here and there. Like maybe I can draw some drawings. And after those 6 months, I kind of got this, became like architectural assistant in this design and build company. And then I started to think, I really need to get this experience. I was lucky in Poland. I need to find like my placement in like real architectural practice, and to be to work among architects, find out about the business, about the like regulations, etc. And I after a year I changed my job, and now I started working for Bowman Riley Architects, and I work with them like still. They are like amazing practice because they supported me both like mentally and like they showed me all the kind of regulations. They guided me. They paid all my fees for my part 3. I need like to pass also like this. It's called equivalence exams for my part 1 and part 2 from my Polish university. So I did all of that within the last 5 years, and I'm just became an architect. So it was really brilliant. So finding like a very good employer, I think it's very important if you want to like to be a good architect as well.
Yeah, and as you are now, and you came in 2016, have you managed to, I guess, learn from the mistakes that you made, and how is your financial health now?
Yeah, so at the beginning, obviously, I was starting from zero, so I was kind of trying to figure out bits and pieces. But after a few years, we started to think and talk. I talk with my husband quite a lot about the future and who he will want to be, what we want to do. And I thought, he's a truck driver. He was working like crazy hours, 15 hours a day. And I thought he was supporting me all these years from when I finished university to coming to England. So I think, I need to like give him back. So we tried to educate ourselves about money, because I thought that's like the basic skill that most people are missing. So we started like to watch loads of YouTube videos about money. We started to attend there was like Polish investors meetings when people just exchange knowledge and support each other. So we started to get interest in property investing. So we bought our house where we are today 2 years ago. And then we started to think we need to buy more. So we bought another property last year. Now we bought the land. And we are trying to build up on this like property investing on the side, because I think it's really important just not to rely on your main job only, and try to escape a little bit.
Because that's a really good point, I think. that people need to hear. That you've both got good paying jobs, really. In terms of you've got two salaries coming in, and still there is a need to have another income revenue, from property. So that is, I guess you're looking at that to secure your financial freedom. Is that what it's about? Yeah.
It is about, like, even if you love what you do, I think it's quite important to have this option, because when you have enough money coming in, or you have to cover all your basic bills and payments, then you can choose what you want to do. If you want to be an architect, it's fine, because they work that, but you don't have this pressure coming from the financial aspect, and you can just enjoy what you do, and you can choose what you do or what you don't want to do. So that's kind of where we are aiming right now.
And looking back, you did make mistakes. I think everyone makes mistakes, and it's important to learn from them. But if you had that time again, where you were leaving university, what would you do differently now?
I think that these mistakes I did before, they were kind of deformed who I am today, because I think that, I think it's the worst way to learn, but if you learn from mistakes, you will never make them again. So I wouldn't change much, because I would like to have this pain and this failure a little bit, just because it showed me what I was doing wrong. So maybe I would do that similarly, but I would probably realize sooner what was wrong, and maybe try to change a little bit my thinking, my steering. I wouldn't probably try to show off my living. Instead of, I would try to figure out the way how to make money first, and then maybe after a while you can think about other bits, and maybe to get some more experience to start with somewhere else, to learn from industry, I guess.
Yeah, I know that Europeans tend to have frown upon people who struggle with money in a sense, or fail, and in the America sense tends to be, if you haven't failed, you're never going to learn, and they treat it very, very differently, I feel, than they do here. So what you said there's it's fantastic. That it was right to make the mistakes. And I think just lastly, my kind of last question to you is, what advice do you have for architects, and in that context of money, thinking about money and architecture, what advice would you give people?
So I think the very basic thing is try not to get into debt if you can. So, for example, I know that in the UK, to study architecture, you need to pay, and you get most of my people at my work, I think they have student debt. When you can try to avoid that at all costs, so maybe go to Poland, because we have free university in Poland. Study there, make sure that your diploma is recognized in Europe. Come back here, you have no debt, you have much easier life. Or maybe try to find an employer, it was in my situation, when they are willing to cover your fees. So I think it's trying to figure out how not to spend money if you can. Try to educate yourself as well. Try to seek some guidance. Maybe find some mentor who can guide you if you can, and educate yourself as well about money, what money are, why they are important. Is there a way for me to pay less taxes, or very generic knowledge. I think that's what it's not only about architecture, it's also about money and business, and economy. So I think that's what I would leave people with to think about.
No, great. Just one more question as well, just before you go, that just sprung to mind is, would you ever consider going back and practicing and opening up your own architecture practice again?
I think I would, because I with all this knowledge I have today, with my failure both, and my knowledge again from practice, and I think it will be much easier. So it's a possibility, I guess. But only when I will be secure enough, have the how they call the money, financial pillow, like some money in your account just in case for emergency fund. Yes, that's what I was about. So if you have emergency fund, and if you have the knowledge and then have quite a freedom, then you can try, because then the failure will be much softer even if you fail again.
No, fantastic, and I'm so happy that it hasn't put you off, even considering opening up a practice in the future. So thank you so much for being on The Broke Architect. Thank you again, and for giving us your thoughts on finances, architecture, and debt. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, James. So thank you for picking up this subject. I think it's quite important, just not to show off, just try to, and we know we all struggle. So yeah, thank you for picking up this subject.
Great. Now I'd just like to say something about the Architects Benevolent Society. This is a society that is dedicated to supporting past and present members of the architectural community and their families in times of need, from those starting out on their careers to those who are now in retirement. They help people who have experienced illness, accident, redundancy, unemployment, bereavement, or other personal difficulties. Now, support ranges from confidential advice to financial assistance. Now, my ask to you all who's listening is consider giving a donation. There's many ways you can do this, and you can even volunteer for the ABS and even fundraise. And also you can also leave a gift in your will. So who do the Architects Benevolent Society help? Well, architects, architectural technologists, landscape architects, and employees of architectural practices, but also the dependents of the professions I've just stated there. They also help and support students of architecture, architectural technology, or landscape architecture. Now, for more information on eligibility and to apply for help, please go to the ABS website, which is absnet.org.uk. Thank you. Please share, subscribe, and comment to support the channel.
The Broke Architect. The Broke Architect. The Broke Architect. The Broke Architect.